So, hello. Welcome back to another one of our online videos, webinars, whatever you want to call it. My name is Shelley Edwards. I'm a PAC mentor and speaker and trainer. Very happy to be with you here today. So, I'm going to be popping in and out throughout this video to give you some questions, maybe make some points, maybe make some clarifications on some of the things that Teepa says during this video series. Just a kind of introduction on this one in particular. This one is called Dealing with Diamond Distress. I think I might have said that earlier, but I wanted you to know that this is one in a series of 12 webinars that we did a couple years ago discussing the various gem states. And we did videos on distress and then creating pleasure. So this one is the first one in the Diamond series, and hopefully I'll be back to do the second one about Diamond joy or creating joy for that person. Okay, so I'll be back.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. It's good to be with you. And my partner for the day is going to be Corey. So Amanda's taking control of the ship here while we're off doing this trip we're actually on the West Coast. And what we'll be talking about today is obviously the idea of working with someone when they're in distress, and in that moment, their ability to take in data, process data, and produce ability is that of a diamond. And it's really important to know that when we talk about diamond distress, we're not talking about a person being a bad person or a person having a bad behavior. What we're talking about is that person's brain is having a very difficult time taking in new or different information because for whatever reason, the brain is busy dealing with what it has inside or what it's perceiving outside, and it can't handle anything really more extreme in that moment. So it can really come up when people are feeling new and different things coming at them. It can happen when what they're used to having happen isn't working the way they were thinking it should work. It can happen and be a fine moment when what they're doing matches what needs to be done, and it's a routine and a ritual and it has a pattern. And so being in a diamond moment is stressful when you're a sapphire and you notice that you're struggling with this. But if I'm simply a diamond, I may or may not be aware of my diamond status until there's a change or a stressor. I'm fine with being where I'm at because that's just how I see things, just how I do things, just how things are. And as long as the ritual and routine of my life goes along smoothly, I'm fine because I actually structure my life so that I have ritual and routine because that's what makes me comfortable and satisfied. And the people around me are pretty familiar with me and I'm pretty familiar with them. And I tend to like to be around people who do things in a predictable way and are comfortable with my abilities. And if I have someone in my life who tends to be a little more flexible and different, I will want to be with them if they're predictable. And that I really like and trust them. And they may be my leader, in which case, if they're very clear about what I'm supposed to do and how I'm supposed to do it, it's all fine. So what are we talking about when we're talking about diamond distress is when a diamond is experienced, a person is experienced that stressful thing that happens for them. And probably the most important message of all at this point is to realize it's going to take two people to tango, which means we can either make this go smooth and dance with it, or to tangle, which means I want my way, you want your way, and I'm trying to get you to be the person you were just a few minutes ago and try to point out to you how you tend to do things, but it's not working, how I need you to do things because you're not doing it the way I want or the way we talked about. And what it really causes, hopefully, is for the person who's more able to take the step back and to take a deep breath and to let it go and to go, okay, this is someone who clearly in this moment is not comfortable. They're obviously in a distress state. So it's really important for us to recognize that when we're noticing this, we need to be tuned into what are we seeing, hearing, feeling, what do we pay attention to? And when it comes to this idea of MCI, mild cognitive impairment or dementia, what we're talking about is 50% of people, approximately, will not be aware that they're having this level of distress. And if they are aware of the distress, they tend to not realize it's because they're having change in their brain. And so what the reaction will be is one of anger and frustration toward an external situation or the person who's there, who's pointing out that this isn't working as well, or the person who happens to be present when it's not working out very well, or the person who's deemed to be responsible for it's not. But the fact of the matter is, the part of my brain that would allow me to appreciate, oh, it's not working because I'm having trouble doing things. Oh, it's not working because I'm not able to hold on to new data. Oh, it's not working because what I just did, I already did, and that's why there's no pills in that box, because I already took the pills. I'm not able to figure all that out. And it's not like I'm not trying, it's just that the change to my brain is tricking me. So about 50% of folks are going to get angry and frustrated at any effort to help them see what they're not able to see, help them do what they're struggling with, if we go into it trying to help them understand why they're having problems, how they can fix it, because they can't take in the new data. Now, the other half of the group, the other half of people who have the beginning symptoms of MCI or full-out dementia, will notice that they're having trouble with things. They are aware that something's not working right. And as you may have seen in seeing it from the other side, 3 out of that 5, if we were talking about 10 people, are aware they're losing skill and their anxiety goes up. And when your anxiety goes up, you don't work as well. But the other thing that tends to start happening is I start looking around for who can lead me, who can tell me, who can show me, who can take over, who can do those things. Because if I don't have somebody to do them, then I'm going to be at a higher risk that things aren't going to go well. You will also start to notice things about my the thing that I have or I don't have. Shoot, I know this. The son of a gun. So you start to notice changes in speech patterns. You start to notice more increased difficulty with word finding, more nervous tapping or stuttering or looking all over the place and frantically looking with less organization. And so what I'll tend to do as a rule is try to pick somebody in my life who seems trustworthy and I've maybe trusted before and is amenable. And I'll start asking them questions and I'll start asking them to help me. And I'll start turning things over to them if I feel at risk. And I start doing that, and I may or may not be totally aware that I'm starting to do this on a regular basis. And so I often will start my statements with, I'm sorry if I've already asked you this. I'm sorry if I'm bothering you. I don't mean to bother you, but I wanted to, and so the person who's on the other end, without realizing it, can sometimes start experiencing their own diamond moments. It's like, just tell me what you want to tell me. Calm down. And what we don't realize is their behavior triggers our behavior more into a diamond state. So this is a tricky one because it can feel fine and comfortable because she's not really giving me a hard time. He's not ugly about things. But it's critical that we start noticing what's happening, not only for them, but also for us in these moments. Then the last 2 folks, the 2 out of 10, I know I'm changing, But as a rule, I'm somebody who doesn't really want other people to recognize and know that I'm changing, because my sense of self is so connected and intertwined with my awareness and knowledge of me, and my sense that to be competent is to be whole, to be incompetent is to be less. And so when I start experiencing my incompetence, I want to hide it. I want to get away from people. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to know. You know what? I'm just not going to do those things anymore. And so what I start doing, and what people often miss and think I'm depressed or I just don't want to try anymore, is that I'm having so much trouble not being able to do things. And so my distress is sometimes under the water. So I can look okay from the outside most times, but I'm actually paddling away just like crazy. I'm like a little duck that's trying to keep itself afloat, and you have no idea how hard this is getting. And so I cover and I back out of situations. And so sometimes afterwards, you'll find sticky note after sticky note after sticky note. You'll find calendars with X's and calendars and another calendar. And I have things hidden because I'm so scared that people will find out that I keep trying to help myself, but I'm afraid to reach out to anybody. And when you make a comment, I may really snap or resist or say, I don't want to talk about that. And we're not talking about that right now. Leave it alone. Just leave it alone. And then at the same time, I'm going, when is that stupid doctor's appointment? We should quit setting these things up. I'm just not going to go see him. So sometimes I spike into anger or frustration, but then again, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to yell at you, but you don't need to be involved in everything. I'll make my own appointments when I need to. I'm just not going to do it. It's just, he's just asking so many questions. So what I'm going to ask the group to do now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second, because I want folks to reflect on this and consider, have you seen this both in people that you know have dementia, but then take a step further back and go, what have you seen in yourself? What do you tend to do when your distress gets high? Because every single one of us, I don't care how wonderful you are, how terrific you are, how sapphire you are in most moments, how brilliant and bright you are, there are times in our lives when we get stressed that we will go diamond. And it's just that brain's inability to handle more. I can't. So think for a few seconds, which of those three do you think you tend toward? And I'm going to just sort of check in with a couple folks. And what's your evidence that that's what you do? Because when you become the care partner, it's going to be real important that you know what your characteristics are, so you can keep an eye on yourself, not just the person you're trying to help. And you will also be able maybe to give yourself a little time out when the stressors start happening and realize, ooh, I'm more likely to tangle than tango right now. I need to get myself together and figure out what's driving me before I move forward and try to help another person. So since I happen to know Amanda's on the other end right here, I'm going to pull her up. Amanda, what's your tendency? What do you tend toward?
I am a freeze and then flight, but if I can't flight, then I get really what appears to be sad. I may even start crying, even though I'm not sad, I'm really angry. But I start crying and my words don't come, and I do get really flustered, and I have a really hard time sort of overcoming that and putting my words together to make sense again, until I've been away from that situation or person. And usually it stems from conflict or someone saying that I didn't do something right, when I tried really, really hard and I'm exhausted. So it's like a perfect storm of things.
Okay, so for you, you're in that sort of second, third category where you're going to tend to withdraw. But before you withdraw, your anxiety goes real high. You'll tend to get very emotional, and you won't attack the other person. You'll become really withdrawn emotionally and want to go hide from them and recover and then come back.
Yeah.
So that's good. Thanks.
Holly has said on the chat that when she has a special event to plan or something to teach and it's all coming in, she's got something to speak that same week, and she has notes all over her office, and it becomes too insane to really keep up with all the notes that you've got. So scattered.
Yes. So Holly, I wonder what will happen if somebody comes in and tries to straighten up just a little bit, because, it's just all over the place. And I think it would help you if I just got things organized just a little bit. I'm not going to do much. I mean, so often what's really important is to notice what somebody's characteristics are even before or without dementia, because what that says is, what is Amanda going to want if and when she ever develops a dementia from her care partner in order for her to be able to be interactive? What's she going to need? What do you think Amanda's going to need? Catherine, what do you think Amanda's going to want and need, given what she's described?
Probably a very gentle, somebody who pays attention but doesn't push.
What's the most important thing she needs?
Validation.
Okay, I'm going to pause you. I want you to think of 4 F's or 4 S's. Okay, so the 4 F's: friendly, familiar, functional, and forgiving, the environmental cues. And the S's are the right social match, the right sensory match, the right surface match, and the right space match.
Okay, guys, I'm back. I thought I'd pop in with this slide here because Teepa spends some time talking about the 4 F's and the 4 S's. And so I thought I'd just give you a picture here on the screen of what those are. So the 4 F's is the environment that the person is in: friendly, familiar, functional, and like she said, especially forgiving. And then the 4 S's are about the person's social interactions. Where are they? The sensations that they're feeling when they're in that space. Surface, so how the surface feels. And the actual physical space that a person's in, either physical or personal space. How comfortable are they with the space that's around them? So I just wanted to give you a few minutes to just hear all of these and process these. We talk a lot about these, the 4 F's and the 4 S's, when we talk about something we call 6 pieces of the puzzle, which is when we're trying to figure out how care partners and the person with dementia can live together well with the 6 pieces of the puzzle. If you're interested in that, you can come back for another video. Okay, see you soon.
From what Amanda has shared, which of the S's is really important to her in that moment? Space. And what's the space she's absolutely going to need from her care partner?
Space to have her, how she's feeling.
Does she want you to be visually present?
No.
Does she want you to be verbally present?
No.
Does she want you to be physically present?
Maybe, probably not. She needs
So
to say,
what do you need to do?
let her be.
No.
Go away.
Bingo.
That's what I meant, let her be. I was doing it, but a different way.
Exactly. But the difference is, what's the difference between leaving her alone and saying, Amanda, you know what? I'm going to back off because whatever I've done, I'm sorry. Let me step away. Let me know when you want to talk.
Yeah. I'm her.
Yeah. Okay. So what happens is she needs to be able to stay in her space, but she needs us out of her space, and she needs us to step away. Do we want to respond or react to the crying as tearful and crying? What do you think?
Well, as I am one of those people, I am exactly the same. It could go either way. I would like the option. Would you like me give an option, a hug or no? Or
Ooh, okay, hang on. Now that's where time. Let's think about that's you. And there are other characteristics you, introvert, extrovert, those kind of things. So you as a diamond, you want the person to offer the options. Does anybody else? Let's see. Let's try Rachel. Rachel, what do you think about what Manda might most want from you?
I think she would want me to leave for a while. And
what about emotionally?
She said this kind of overwhelming. She's overwhelmed. And so if I give her lots of more information, I'm only contributing to her problem.
Correct. What about emotion? What is she feeling emotionally? What did she say she was feeling emotionally in those moments?
Angry.
Oh, so she's looking sad, but she's crying and she's slobbering and she can't think. And the tendency in those moments for most extroverts would be to come in and say, Manda, what's wrong? It's okay. Don't cry, or whatever. What does Manda not feel that we could get tricked visually and auditorily into thinking?
That she's sad.
Is she sad? She's pissed off, but she doesn't get angry. She looks sad and she gets teary and her nose runs and she looks miserable. So the reason I'm digging into this is as a person is developing dementia on top of this profile, we can make huge mistakes, especially people who don't know the individual as well, but even people who do. In the effort to be supportive, we do the very thing that drives them even deeper into hiding, because now they feel even less able to share what they really are, is angry with me, angry about the situation, furious, because it feels to them that that would be an unacceptable emotion, because then that would increase the risk that I won't like them anymore, that I won't want to be with them anymore. And so she has to deal with her anger by herself, but I'm not giving her the support she really needs. Even going away from her doesn't solve the issue, because now she's had to hide what she's really feeling. And that's going to make it more difficult for us to have a really true relationship. So that was a great example of a visual and an auditory cue that a diamond can give. And because it's an old habit, an old pattern, it may still be present, and it can really result in a lot of missed opportunities and misunderstandings as that person's dementia or capabilities change over time.
Yeah, it looks sad, but it's angry. Because I am also an extrovert, it's a really, and if you know my history, I need someone to come in after that, right after that experience. As Catherine said, I do need someone to be with because I need to talk it out, but it cannot be that same person. So I've got to be able to verbally express freely and openly, and that's that familiar, familiar setting of I need the space, but I also need someone who's familiar or not. I don't really care if I know them, but they can't be the same person who I can just basically vent it all out to. And then we can come back together and you can give me your apology and offer me some options. But as an extrovert, and that's that knowing the history of the person, I do want someone there, as Catherine said, and I do at some point want to be able to physically connect back with them, but there has to be that space in between.
Okay, so let's identify, let me see, one other person who might be willing to share out their kind of typical pattern for them. Linda, would you be willing to sort of like talk a little bit about which of those three patterns would be your more typical pattern? And you'll have to unmute yourself, or Amanda can unmute you.
Oh.
There you go.
Hello.
Hey there.
Hi. I just can express, I've been through 3 episodes with my mom in the memory care residence, where in seconds she forgot I was her daughter. And she escalated to a diamond distress, saying, "You look bizarre. Well, I don't know who you are." So the first episode, I started shaking and sweating, and I went into diamond distress myself.
Okay, so I'm going to pause you for a second, because what's interesting is that when your mom didn't know you as her daughter, she was actually moving into Emerald State. She was getting lost in time and place and situation. So even though she looked right at you, you were, but you weren't, and her brain couldn't deal with that. And so she actually was normally diamond. She normally knows who you are, but she's rigid and a little inflexible about it. But in that moment of seeing you, you were the wrong person in the wrong place at the wrong time, trying to have a relationship that isn't right. And you found yourself going, oh no, that now she's not done that before. This is a new thing. The first time it happened, your brain just went, no.
Yes.
And that high distress you experienced was your heart rate went up, you were sweating, you went into high anxiety, you couldn't think in that moment of how to help her. And what you didn't realize is you couldn't possibly help her because you were in a state of acute distress.
How I helped her is I asked for a nurse to get the Ativan, and then second time I realized my mom's an introvert. Yeah, open my hand, give it to me.
I'm teasing, but not really, because
I know. So the second time I realized my mom's an introvert, and I know her safety net was her bed or the couch to watch TV. So now and then my mom gave me a cue the second time that I didn't understand till the third episode it happened a week ago, where she's hungry. She's very, very hungry, and the snack does not arrive as promised. And I know her favorite foods. So I'm going into a care plan meeting with memory care providers who do not know your name. And I'm going to have a care plan meeting. My mom is teaching me when these episodes happen, she's very, very hungry. It's not Ativan she needs. She needs her bed or the couch with the TV and food.
So what you've been able to do is by episode 3, your brain is getting smarter about being able to take in data. The first time through, you couldn't handle the data. Your brain was just emergency. We need to do something about this, and it has to be fast. And so you did the tangle, not the tango.
Yes.
So the second time through, your brain was going, now, wait a minute. This is a little crazy. It's happening again. And there seems to start to be a pattern. Let me see. She likes this, not that. Wonder what, so her snack isn't coming. So your brain started putting together puzzle pieces, but it took you the third time was when your brain went, it's hunger. That's why her brain isn't able to do it. So her emerald moment triggered your diamond moment. But what you were able to do, because you have a fully functional recovering brain, is to go back to sapphire and go, okay, why is this happening now? And you're able to problem solve through. And now what you're going to have to sort of think a little bit about possibly is when you go into that meeting,
Monday,
the temptation may be to go with sword drawn.
No, I know I have to fake it. I have to fake it.
Good. See, you're getting really good at this. So you're going to be working on not going diamond on Monday, and you're trying to prep yourself. So that's a great example of a full functional brain recognizing I have potential to get rigid and inflexible, and I don't want to do it. It's not going to help my mom. This is a situation where, in my opinion, my people should know what they're doing. And the part of knowing what they're doing is to know that the person they're trying to serve doesn't need Ativan. What they need is food. And I should not have to be the person that helps them get that. However, I am. So I can choose to tangle with them, or I can choose to work to tango with them. All right, so I'm going to go on back to the share for just a second. So once we acknowledge that the person is starting to do that and what's happening for us, what we want to recognize is we're on a journey. The journey is starting for us, and we do not have what you see in the picture, a healthy, functional brain in front of us, around us. We're looking at somebody whose brain is changing. Ours has capacity, and particularly the prefrontal cortex, the left temporal lobe, the right temporal lobe, language and rhythm and music, and the power of prayer for us, and meditation and time out, getting oxygen here. And then this is your body being able to handle things, and vision back here. These little chunks, your amygdala, over here, I like what I like when I like it. I want what I want when I want it, and I want it now. I need something to feel better, are well under control by the rest of the brain. Over here, the left amygdala is able to go, okay, I don't like this, but I know how to deal with it. This is annoying, but I know how to fix it. I will either step away from this or do something about it. It's a little more risky. I need to come up with a game plan because I don't like when this happens, or this is getting dangerous and I've got to do something about it. And recognizing clearly the difference between something that is annoying, something that is risky, and something's getting dangerous is critical, and it actually is what a sapphire is able to do. Diamonds can misperceive the difference between risky and dangerous, because in that moment, their brain is really struggling with, I think it's dangerous. I think I need something. No, it's just risky. No, it's dangerous. That's dangerous. You shouldn't be doing that. Well, you're right. You shouldn't. But is it an immediate danger or a potential? Is it a risk? And in those moments, diamonds have a real difficult time sorting out the difference between risk and danger, the difference between wanting something and needing something. I need you to leave me alone. I need you to go sit down. I need you to get up. I need you to take a shower. Whoa, hang on. Am I the person living with dementia, or I'm the care partner? And in those moments when you're not doing what I expect, when you're behaving in a way that I don't anticipate, this is the highest risk moment, where instead of taking the amygdala back under control and going, hang on, this is just risky. This is just annoying. This is something that she really wants and she would like, but she doesn't really need it. But I've got to figure out how to deal with this, or I want, or I would like. So what's really the message here is that we need to realize in these moments, because we have capacity to shift, they will also have capacity to shift. And there are moments when we make mistakes. We are going to make mistakes because we're trying so hard. We end up in a tangle, not a tango. And then sometimes we do a terrific job, but we don't even know why. We aren't even sure why it worked that time, because it just aligned. And until we take a step back and maybe get somebody to help us if we're an extrovert, or get time to consider on our own when we're an introvert and then talk about it. I want to point out that introverts, we got to get out of this habit of thinking when I'm an introvert, I don't have to talk. Yeah, you do, because you're trying to figure things out. And that's a behavior that, although your old habit pattern was just go off by yourself and figure it out, when you're the care partner, the most important thing that someone can start to do is learn the art of sharing with another human being beside the person who has dementia in a way that everybody is comfortable with, to get the support you need in your changing skill set, in your changing knowledge set, in your changing behavior. Because if you do not process out loud with someone, you will start to think you know what you're doing, when in fact, getting feedback is probably one of the most important things you can learn to do.
So I'm back again, and I have a question for you. Are you an introvert or are you an extrovert? You need to know a little bit about yourself, don't you, before you can decide how you're going to help the person who's living with this brain change in a diamond state. One of the things that Teepa mentioned that I just wanted to restate is that introverts who think they need to just go off and think on their own and not talk to anybody really do need to get feedback. So if you don't have someone that you can turn to, and you're more of an introvert than an extrovert when it comes to just connecting with people, you might want to think about finding somebody to talk to when you're trying to make decisions about how to handle this stress that you're under. So don't just go off by yourself. Find a friend, okay? All right, see you later.
So I've put up the umbrella because the other piece that's really critical is early stage dementia. Each one of these different conditions can and do show you a different view of the person's brain abilities in the early stage, in the diamond state. So when someone's in a diamond state, I'm still pretty much who I've always been, and I will look clear and I will be clear, but I'm more extreme and more unable to be different than how I am in that moment. And that means if I have Lewy body, when I'm having an episode of extreme Lewy body involvement, I cannot be any different than I am in that moment. And then 10 minutes later, I may look like a totally different person, and I may be very sapphire. Because with Lewy body, that the tricky thing about Lewy body is it's sort of symptom on, symptom off. I can be very sapphire about some things and very diamond about other things. And I would pick Lewy body because it's the one, along with vascular, where when I'm in Lewy body active state, and it is active or inactive frequently, what happens is my rigidity often circles around sensation, sensory experiences, incoming sensation, outgoing sensation. And so everything else can be perfectly okay, but that sensory thing is the thing that's driving my distress. With frontal temporal, it's often expectation of relationship if it's a frontal variant. So I do not get why you're getting upset, because the missing piece for me is the relational context. So I'm just not, I don't feel like it matters. And it's like, well, you've got to. Why? And so we can get in an argument, or I just refuse to do it, or I just stand there. The other problem with frontal temporal could be my inability to sequence, particularly with frontal variant. I do one step and then I stand. And if I have language skills, I may say to you, what do you want me to do now? And if I don't, I just stand there and you say, well, what are you doing? And I'm waiting for the next step. And yet other things I can do quite well. On the other hand, if I'm an independent functioner, I'll go ahead and do the next step, but I skipped a few in between. So I put water in the coffee maker. I have the pot filled again with water, because I filled the pot, but then I filled the coffee carafe with water and I put it underneath. And then I got coffee and turned it on. And now there's coffee running all over the countertop. And you have a diamond moment because I've just made this horrendous mess. And I'm having a diamond moment because I didn't do it on purpose. And we're both distressed with each other. And it's actually the task sequence that I missed. And so what one of us has to do, and it's probably not the person with the condition, is to say, uh-oh. So when the coffee's being made, I have to monitor for steps, and I have to be more engaged without doing much, just to monitor. And if there's a moment when the step is shifting, I don't want to be your mother, but I may say, oh, hey, Mary, yeah, tell you what, empty that one out and let's put that one right there. Perfect. Good. Excellent. Good. All right. Now flip that. You got it. Rather than, now notice when I did it, however, I went into that upper register of voice. That's to indicate, yeah, I'm distressed. I'm distressed. I'm trying not to sound distressed, and I don't want to boss you around because I don't want to go there, but my anxiety was up. So I still am somewhat diamond. It's important to know that in that moment, I am still pretty having a hard time here. If that doesn't work, I may not be able to come up with another option B, option C, because that's as close as I could get to dancing. So the question then becomes over time, if I now, the person, Mary, now starts deciding to make coffee any which time, now I need a new plan. And the new plan is maybe to disable the coffee maker in some fashion until such time as I can do the monitoring. But I have to be careful because I may have a fix-it person in my life, and they like to fix things. And so when the coffee maker doesn't work, they take the coffee maker apart. And then I go, oh no, and have an even bigger diamond moment. So this early stage stuff is tricky because all too often it's not just the person living with the condition who's having diamond moments. So are we. So in the PET scan that I often use, if you look at column 2, that's classic early Alzheimer's. But in many ways, it's not that far off many other dementias. Yes, the pattern would look different, but the thing that's really important to notice is the shift in the power of these little guys right here, the amygdala. And they almost always, with all dementias, the amygdala area lights up like a Christmas tree and it starts making mistakes. And these little hippocampal areas will take a hit of some form or other and have changes. But the thing to notice is that whether it's early Alzheimer's or whether it's stress due to caring for somebody with an early stage dementia, rather than seeing the change in the size of the ventricles, we won't see that, but we will often see a chemical pattern that is not unlike this, because what we're experiencing is a lot of stress and distress. When we look at brains that have cortisol, high cortisol levels, this is what we often see without the brain changing in size. So early memory changes are often ones that are more related to the problems that we have when we have anxiety. So storage issues, new storage issues, immediate recall issues, new factual information issues, versus things from long ago are more easy for me to access because I have lots of tracks in and out of them. Emotional memories can be more prevalent, and things that I've done a long time, motor skills, social skills, routines, I can hang on to those for a long time. I may start to make mistakes in them when I get to Emerald, but in Diamond State, I'm often pretty good at it unless something's not the way it should be. So when we're staying in hotel rooms, we've often experienced it. When we're going to a new appointment, we may experience it. When we're trying to deal with a new person we're not as familiar with, we might experience it. So we have variability in some things, particularly things like when there's holes in information, do I tend to confabulate, make things up, or do I tend to have a hole? It depends. Also, as far as attention goes, am I hyper or hypo attentive to what I typically have been interested in? And that's a real important thing to notice. Am I hyper vigilant about things, or am I just totally not attentive about things? Even though there are things that historically I was very attentive in, what I may be doing is hiding from my inability by simply not participating. So this is something that comes up a lot with going with activities or participating in groups I've always enjoyed, or going to things that I've always wanted to do and I've always enjoyed doing. Now you say, well, tell you what, why don't we go to church? No, I don't want to go to church. Why don't you want to go to church? You don't need to know why I don't want to go to church. Well, you love going to church. Don't tell me what I love to do. So what happens is I may be experiencing an awareness that when I go to church, I don't recognize people. I'm having a hard time keeping up with the sequence of what's supposed to happen. I know I should know it, but my anxiety gets high. So I start refusing things. And that tends to make those of us who are concerned. And so we start pushing even harder. So what I'm going to do with Corey is have her start to try to deal with me when I think I I can't do that. I can't do that right now. And let's see what Corey opts to do. All right. Corey, I'm not going to go with you today.
Well, Teepa, we always go together.
I don't care. If you want to go, you go. I'll be fine here. I'm just not going to go. I'm not doing it.
Well, is there something that I can do to help?
No, you go. I don't. That's fine.
But we made a reservation.
Well, I didn't make the reservation. You made the reservation. You were the one.
Always go.
Well, you can always go right now. I don't. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you can't go. You want to go, you go.
You're gonna hurt everybody's feelings. They want us to be there.
Well, you tell them I'm sick. Tell them I'm sick. I'm not going.
You're not sick.
I feel sick. My stomach's upset. I can't do this.
Well, I tell you what,
I can't deal with all this. You're making me upset. Why are you doing this?
Well, I just, it's not always about you.
All right, so let's pause before I hit her. So let's sort of put the group up here and let's sort of talk a little bit about what you noticed as far as Corey having diamond moments along with my diamond moment. So talk about what was happening with Corey and what was happening with me. So Pam, what's something you noticed? Oh, you have to unmute yourself. There you go.
I noticed she was trying to bring you into her world, and you just weren't there.
Okay, so Corey, so Corey knows that I always do this. We always do this. This is a pattern. This is a habit. And this is something that her brain says, well, we want to maintain habits and patterns. That's how you keep this disease from getting worse.
I don't think so.
Well, that's what her brain is saying right then, because what her brain said was, this is dangerous. If I let her not go to this, this is dangerous. This is the first big step on the road to degradation. That's from Music Man, just so you know. But what happens is Corey's brain goes, this is dangerous. And she's full out press now to get me to go to this thing. And she's not really curious about why I don't want to go. And the more she pushed, and she was trying to come up with reasons why it wouldn't be okay. So what kind of reasons did Corey throw out there?
We've done it all the time.
We do it all the time.
You'll disappoint your friends.
You'll disappoint your friends. Yes. Yeah. You are being, and what did she say at the end?
I don't know. I don't remember. My diamond moment.
That's okay. Anybody else want to throw that one in? It's my favorite. It's not all about you, Mom. It's just not all about you. Well, actually, it was all about me. That's what the problem was. She was making it all about me. So it was all about me. It was all about what I wasn't willing to do for her, because she had an unmet need. She had an unmet want. She wanted to maintain me, and she couldn't let go of what she wanted. And she was actually thinking that did I tell her that I liked to go, that I wanted to go, or was it that I needed to go?
You didn't want to go.
I surely didn't want to go, but what she was going for was I needed to go. I absolutely needed to go. If I didn't go, people would be disappointed. If I didn't go, this is just this is so bad. Mary Lee?
Yeah, exactly. Even Corey was starting to lose some words. She was having trouble with coming up with other things to say to you as well.
Right, because historically, I never, quote unquote, do this. I never did something like this before. Right. So one of the cue words to listen for from diamonds is never or always. You always, you never. So when those words start coming out of someone's mouth, our brain should go diamond moment, and it's called speaking in hyperbole. In other words, my brain says there's only black or white, this or that, yes or no. There's nothing in between, because what's happened is the front of my brain is no longer able to consider alternate options. It's this or that, this or that. And this or that are pretty extreme, because I can't handle the shades of gray. And so it's yes or no, go or don't go. It's yes or no. And what we don't appreciate is, okay, what you did is draw a line in the sand. And yes, you may be able to nudge me over there a few times, but at some point I may very well go, fine, you go, I'm not doing it. Because what you've done is you said, if I won't do it, I'm a bad person. And my brain goes, I don't care anymore.
Right.
I just don't care enough.
Yeah.
And what you've actually done is destroy the relationship that we had, rather than just not have me go somewhere. I mean, that it's more intense than that, because what I do remember is our emotional distress. I remember that you're not liking me. I remember I'm not liking you. I remember that you push me in ways that make it feel uncomfortable, that actually make it feel risky, that actually make it feel dangerous. And so now the next time you have something that you do quote marks, need me to do, not this time, I'm not. No, I'm not. I said no and I meant no. And this is where we don't mean to build walls, but we build walls rather than build bridges with relationships.
All right, so I'm back again. And I decided to put some things up here on this PowerPoint because there was a lot of stuff going on in this conversation that they were doing between Corey and Teepa. And she's talking about what are some things we need to listen for as care partners? What are some words or some phrases that people might say that help us figure out if they're kind of in a diamond distress moment? So what she was mentioning is words like, well, we've never done it that way, or we've always done it that way, or a yes or no. Yes, I want to do this. No, I don't want to do this. There's black and there's white. There's no gray in between. And it's the idea that they're speaking in hyperbole, that they just can't meet in the middle. It's one extreme or the other, right? And the other piece that she mentioned again in this section that I think we just need to keep bringing back to ourselves is that if we decide to tangle versus tangoing with our people, we're going to end up creating walls, not bridges, between ourselves and the person that we're caring for. And then that relationship is going to be harmed, because when people are in distress, after the distress, they don't necessarily remember what happened, but they remember the emotion that was created by the distress. So we want to really work hard on maintaining our relationship with our people and our person living with dementia in a diamond state, or another care partner in a diamond state. Okay, thanks. I'll be back later.
Hey,
Teepa, you ready to go?
Go. No, I don't think so.
No, you don't want to go?
No, I don't. No, I don't think. No.
Do you? Well, we were going to go have lunch with the ladies down at the church.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea, because they are so nosy. They want to know everything, and there's two of them that get on my nerves, and we've always done that, but I just don't know that that's something I want to do anymore.
Yeah, we have always done that, but they're kind of nosy.
Well, they're not. I mean, I know they're not trying to be, but how have you been? How have you been? How have you had any trouble lately? I know that you're struggling. I mean, they just do that crap that gets on my nerves, where they pat me. They pat me and they say, "How have you been?" And they look at you like you're 5. I mean, they think I'm an idiot. I know. Ever since you decided I should go get a workup. And ever since then, that it was all yours starting with that business of thinking problems and that old timers thing. And that's what started all this.
Yeah. So I made you go do all that.
Well, you didn't make me, but it was like you made me. You just kept bugging me for that.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, I know you're trying to help, but you sure do start stuff. Now those little biddies, they know everything. Half of them can't think.
Well, and it sounds like they're asking a lot of questions.
Well, they are. Half of them don't have brains any better than mine, but they just don't have somebody getting in their business.
Well, I tell you what, it sounds like that you're a little upset and you just don't want to deal with that.
No, because they just make you feel like you've got problems. They don't have problems. Well, they have problems too.
Yeah.
I mean, two of them, they asked me, where's the B? Do I have a B on my card? And I said, well, you've got lots. It's one B and you've got to get the numbers right. And they're the same one saying, well, have you been? I mean, give me a break. Their little nuts are crap too.
I tell you what, then. Do you want to go?
Let's pause. Okay. So what kinds of options did Corey use this time that were a little different than last time? Carol, you want to give it a shot, see what you came up with? What kind of things do you notice Corey doing this time?
Well, she was more understanding and agreeing with you.
So tell me some phrases that she used. Did you notice any particular phrases that seemed to be used a good bit?
Just understanding just kind of like repeating what you were saying.
So rather than trying to give me information, she took the information I gave her and gave it back. So with a diamond, one of the really critical things to notice is that when they say something, you say back what they said essentially so that they know you got their message. And you're not giving them new stuff. You're just letting them see, I saw the shine. I saw you what you said. I got you. And so what happens is they start to not be quite so rigid because their message got through. And they were able to share and they were able to outsource the info. And you, as you were listening to them and repeating what they said, you are getting a little break. You're getting a little bit of time to try to figure out what's underneath this. What's the emotion that's driving this? What's the unmet like, want, or need? Or what are they not liking? Or what are they feeling is risky? Or what is it they're finding dangerous? It's allowing your brain to still think because you didn't have to come up with an answer or the words or a demand. You're really just going along with them to sort of figure this out a little bit more.
And she was much more calm. I mean, she was just really attentive and just listening and wasn't getting upset. And
Yep. So what she did, look at your watch. Do this. This is really important. We quit looking at the time and what we have planned, and we start going, time out, change in plan. Because before anything's going to happen, I have to be in the moment where this person is to figure out what's happening that they're calling a timeout to the plan. Because what happened is they're saying something about what you have planned is causing me distress. Mm-hmm. So before we can get to the plan, we have to figure out what's going on. Otherwise, we tangle with our partner, not tango. There's no rhythm to it. We're ending up trying to push or shove or get them to do what their brain is telling them it isn't quite right to do. And so Corey just said, okay, so much for the reservation. That may or may not work. I'm going to let go of that right now because that's not the goal right now. The goal right now is our relationship and trying to figure out what's going on. So what did she figure out?
That you were concerned with what the ladies were saying about you. That they knew just because you had that diagnosis, now all of a sudden you have a label.
So what I've been ruminating on, what's been sitting in my head, what I'm starting to really realize is that something's changing. I've got it. I don't like it. I don't like feeling incompetent. Mm-hmm. And when I go to this place that I've always gone, I'm no longer feeling that it's friendly, familiar, functional, and most important, forgiving.
Yep.
And so it's not the right social match for me anymore. And if you were to take me, and I didn't put my feet down this time, what might I do with the ladies that would be even worse for me in the long run?
What you would do? I mean, if you went.
You don't even know what a 7 is. You are sitting there telling me my brain isn't working right. Let me just tell you what, you have got half a head anymore. This is bullshit. I cannot believe that half you people come in here, tell people what to do. I'm not going to do this anymore. This is, look at that. You don't even know. Look, you tell me what your phone number is. I bet you don't know your phone number. Your phone number. I bet you don't even know your damn phone number. This is what I'm saying. And this is ridiculous. And this is what pisses me off. You people think you're better than everybody. Now, before, I might not have had quite as many friends as active in my life, but I don't guarantee you if they weren't talking about me at church, they're going to be wide open talking about me at church. Hey, Pam, what you got to say?
Yeah, okay. In my situation, I frequently am not the caregiver, but I see the caregiver interaction. And, sometimes I think I overstep my bounds, but that first scenario that I saw there, I've seen it get a lot worse, where you have dementia, you don't know what you're doing, your family had it, you've got to have it. In one case, his wife had just passed away. I think he was extremely depressed. Family interpreted that his dementia's gotten worse. And then they look at care homes, and he's really just in the diamond state. He's not anywhere close to needing that attention. So how much do I interfere with that? You come up on someone and that scenario is going on. What do you do?
Okay, so that's a great question. So, Loy, I'm going to put you on the spot just a little bit and say, okay, so you're the third party. Okay, you're watching this relationship where the two are pinching each other a lot. You're noticing that you've got two diamonds right there in front of you, and they both have unmet need and unmet want. Lloyd, what are you thinking? What do you think makes the most sense that we should start thinking about? Because we're the third party often. We're the one that we're to the side and we're going, whoa, boy, this isn't going well. And this is going to escalate, and they're going to retain the memory of this, and it could ruin relationships. And we don't want it. We could actually make things so much worse for the person living with. So, Lloyd, what you got? What you thinking?
Well, knowing my personality, my first instinct is to run away because I don't want to do that. But because that's not an option, I'm wondering, I'm thinking about how, because this is a sticky situation, right? Because if I'm the one going into it, I want to be on the person living with dementia's side because they're the ones whose brain can't be flexible. But also in that situation, the person who's not living with dementia is also inflexible.
Right. So what's everybody's visual field who's already in the mix? So to give me your best visual field appearance, both parties have tunnel vision in that moment. They are not noticing anybody else, anything else but each other. And in that moment, they're actually attacking one another because they're so frustrated with the other person. And so they're being diamond with each other. And one has more power than the other, but one doesn't have more power than the other because the only thing I absolutely have to do is die and pay taxes, apparently. But other than that, I can make your life and you can make my life so miserable that we really struggle. And in this case with dementia, somebody does have a little more power, and the power is to put me somewhere, to drug me, to do things. I mean, and that, is that okay? Ultimately, I think it's a civil rights issue, but for this morning, we're dealing with it as a diamond state issue. So Lloyd, where would you position yourself? What do you think physically? If we were in this kind of state where Corey's over here and we're here, and Corey's the daughter and I'm the mom, what do you think might be the best option if we're doing this with each other? Where would you place yourself?
Maybe between you, but kind of not like in the middle of you, but behind, kind of in a line.
In a line with you.
So I'm. Yeah, kind of like that, so that we're all kind of looking outward.
Well, actually, if I'm in the chair, you may want to greater length. We don't have a lot of room here in the hotel room. you may want to come in to the caregiver's tunnel behind her mom and go, Corey. Because what I need Corey to do, because she's the power position, I need her to switch off her mom and switch on to me without entering her space at all. I've got to be on the boundary, arm out, of personal space with her. I don't want to startle or distress her mom because her mom's really tuned. I don't want her mom turning to me and going, you need to help me. I need to be with Corey. She's the power player here. So I have to go to the more powerful diamond, and she's the one that will control whether or not I'm allowed to interact. So I catch her eye and I give her the look like, oh my God, you've got to be so frustrated. So I've got to show her, I don't say anything at first. I'm just going to show her I got her message. Boy, is she frustrated. And then what will I do next? What do I have to wait for from her before I can do anything else? So I got visual connection. What do I have to wait for now?
A response from her that says it's okay that I come in.
So I want to show her visually, oh man. Or, oh. And then I would go, Corey, hey, it's Teepa, having a hard time here, eh? Or whatever it might be. So it has to be at that point, visual, social. I want her to let go of her mom and connect to me, because with tunnel vision, if I don't get her tunnel to me, she's going to stay on her mom. Now, her mom will realize in that moment somebody else is present. So other people with thoughts, because I don't want to keep Loy on the spot. Loy likes to think things through before she does things. So I shouldn't have used her. I shouldn't have called on her. I know better, but she just startled me into doing it. Anyone else want to make a dib here?
One thing that someone said was that, I think it was Mary Lee, she said the apology was really important, and she noted it when Corey was working with you as a diamond in the second frame. So possibly making sure that you use that if you're the third party intervening, that you're apologizing not just to one, but to both, and for different reasons that have to be really genuine.
Okay.
So thinking of how that apology would sound in public without making it feel like you're apologizing for, I don't know, over listening or whatever it is.
Right. So one of the things, I was just looking through the PowerPoint really quick, and it's later on, but what I wanted to do is say this one. This is really hard. I hate this for you. That is one of the most powerful ways that you can help someone acknowledge your presence and your potential ability to change the dance by acknowledging this is hard. God, this is so hard. I hate it for you guys. That allows us to do one, I'm sorry for everybody, and it actually does validate what both of them are feeling, which is, this is really hard. I don't understand why you're being so closed mind. And it doesn't assign responsibility. It simply says, this is really hard. And then I might say to Corey, oh, gosh, tell you what, have you got a second? I do some work with folks, and it sounds like your mom is really, really giving you a hard time on this today. Yeah. Have you got a few seconds, or do you need to do something? I mean, so this is where giving either or choices, either or, but stepping over, but again, not trying to fix, more appreciate their level of distress, because unless they get listened to, they aren't going to be able to listen to what you want to get them to get, which is, this is just making things worse. They can't hear that until they identify, this is getting worse. I don't know what to do with her. I am so frustrated with her. She's not doing anything. She won't try anything. All she wants to do is sit around in here. The first step is the seek, finding out where she's coming from. Sounds like you're really struggling. Sounds like things have really changed with her. Yes, they've changed. So whatever she needs to spill out, that's how we get to that place of being willing to try that.
All right, I'm back yet again with a little bit more information. And I thought I would put up here some of the phrases or the techniques that Teepa was talking about in that little role play, the second time that she did it with Corey. Some things that we heard Corey say or do that made the interaction better the second time. So one of the biggest pieces, or the first things you want to try to do when you're trying to connect with somebody who's under distress, or actually anytime, is reflect back what you've heard, right? Repeat what they've said, because they need to hear that you heard them, right? So another phrase that you can use is, it sounds like you're not comfortable with going to lunch. The other technique is take some time. Now, it's not a full timeout, and this is, what we use when we talk in PAC language. Timeout, I want to redo that or come back or whatever. But take some time when you're communicating with your person, right? Give their brain time to process. This also gives your brain time to process and think about things before you start getting into a distressed frame of mind as well. And then the other phrase or the other part that will help diamonds not be so distressed. Now, you can't use this over and over again, but you want to at least help them recognize that change is happening, and you see it and they see it. And so one of the best ways to do that is, I am so sorry. This is so hard, and I hate this for you. Gives them an opportunity to feel your empathy, and also let them know, yeah, you realize this isn't what they're not doing this on purpose, and all of those kinds of things, right? You're just trying to connect with them. So just another piece that we were talking about in that video is to say you want to seek to understand, right? You want to find out what it is they're really thinking, rather than telling them what they're thinking or telling them what they're doing, and so on. And then the last point that Teepa brings up in this section is that an important way to avoid diamond distress is to keep the person engaged in conversation, or engaged in an activity, or just connecting and staying engaged with you. All right, I'll be back one more time. See you soon.
So let me go on through a little more content of what's shifting, because I don't want to ignore that information. So language-wise, it's really important. The changes are frequently that we are having trouble interpreting the meaning of information, not the words, but the meaning of the words. So I get very literal, I get very concrete. I also may make a mistake in understanding the word in context. So you say, well, let's roll, and I go, let's roll what? I just meant let's go. Well, why didn't you say let's go? And so we're arguing about simple words. I lose the train of a conversation. I take a sidetrack. And so I'm going down some sidetrack, and your brain is going, what is she talking about now? I have difficulty with the abstract. Well, we'll go in a little while. Well, what time are we going? I don't know, Mom. Maybe in about a half hour. Well, what time is it now? It's 10. So does that mean we're going at 10:30? More or less. Well, what do you mean more? Like 10:40? It's like, oh my heavens, I have a detail person and I'm a big picture person. So once again, personalities enter into it. It makes it more difficult. The other thing about language is if there's multiple people involved, it makes it so much harder when you're a diamond to be able to listen to several different people and pay attention to what different people are saying and what their points of view are, because I'm having a hard enough time with mine and one other person's. And I also have more trouble often with telephone calls, unless not looking at you allows me to listen to you better. So because when you talk to me, I get messed up with your emotional state, sometimes talking with me on the phone if you learn how to give pauses. And so, Mom, I think it makes sense for us to go to eat at 10 this morning. Okay? So I'm going to come so that we can leave at 10. Okay, I'll be there at 10. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Love you. Now, what I didn't say is our appointment is at 10:30, so I'm going to come and pick you up at 10. By the way, that means you need to get up and get your coffee and get everything dealt with at 9 so that you're ready. I'm going to need another person to have that conversation with. So I need to have a conversation with someone else so that when I'm speaking to my diamond, I'm not asking them to plan out a routine to go do an unfamiliar thing when I can't be present with them. I've got to really think hard about what's going to come out of my mouth and how I'm going to know whether or not she got what I gave before I do it. So for some folks, Zoom actually works a lot better. FaceTime works better. And for some people, it doesn't. It is critical to sort of figure out which that is for the people you're working with. And if you start to notice a difference or a change, back off. With speaking, having trouble finding that right word or working around the word or getting real quiet, sometimes caregivers want to fill in the blanks, but sometimes that short circuits. Sometimes I use real vague words. You know, the one that I was talking about, where you put this thing in and push the button to make it hot. The son of a gun. It's not an oven, it's the other one. Not a coffee pot. I was talking about the one where you put the time in it. And it makes it hot. Ding.
Oh, it goes ding.
Well, of course it goes ding.
A microwave?
Yes. Oh, a microwave. I don't know why you have so much trouble with this stuff. You're the dumbest person sometimes, not the brightest tool in the shed. Now, Corey has to be willing to just let that go, because in that moment, I like being smart, and I just always like being smart. So you can't have the last word. And whereas before you might have gone, you got to let go of those things, because all it's going to do is increase agitation on my part and your part. The thing that I often still have is turn taking. So if you don't say something when I say something, then we have a problem, because I'm expecting a back and forth. And it's just like, oh my God, we just had this conversation 15 minutes ago. So I go, and she's going, well, are you not wanting to talk to me? And it's like, yeah, I want to talk to you, but you don't really, because we already had this conversation 5 times. It's like, oh, I just talked to Mary. And the temptations go, yes, I know, because you called me. You told me 5 times you talked to Mary. And what you have to go is, oh, you talked to Mary? Huh. So do you guys have a good conversation? Oh, yeah. So you've got to keep the energy up, even though it's a repeat, which is fine in the short run until you're tired, until you're worn out, and until you're trying to get something done. And that's when you'll make your mistake, because of the diamond state. Not theirs, but yours. Also realize that as it is, when we get to the diamond moments, we are more impulsive or more indecisive. We are not able to make our decisions as well as we used to. So if you compare to how we used to make decisions, or how we typically make decisions, that's not what you're quite seeing. However, my desire to be respected and stay in control, if I've always been in control, or to continue to have you be in control, if you've always been in control, is going to be solid. I will also regret right after I do something that I hurt your feelings, but it doesn't mean I won't do it again. I also am very variable in how aware of my changes I am. And motor skills, it varies. And what varies most is that the things that require the greatest quality, the highest timing, the most integrated, when I'm in a diamond moment, because of my distress, things that I normally have no trouble doing, I may spill coffee, I may have accidents, I may not be able to get my phone to do the thing that I want in that moment. I can't get my mouth to get my denture in right, or my partial plate in. And yet I never have trouble with it. But in this moment, I can't think it through. And then you putting your hand, I don't need anybody helping me put my teeth in. I don't need somebody buttoning a button. I'm not a child, because in that moment, your automatic behavior on the caregiver part, caregiver, not care partner, is to want to take care of me. And in that moment, if I'm struggling with a motor skill that my brain knows I should know how to do, it's often one of the most frustrating moments for me, because it says, you noticed something, you noticed, and you tried to come in here to do something about it. And that will just, I know I dropped my pills. Let me pick them up. And it's like, Teepa, let me get them. No, I can get my own damn pills. And it's like, whoa. Because when you reach for something that I made a mistake on, I don't want someone else cleaning up my mess, because that says to me I'm now truly incompetent. A mom cleans up a child's mess. Somebody who is in charge cleaning up means that I'm no longer the person I've been. So it is real important, if I want to clean up my own mess, you need to keep your hands off of it. If I feel like I want to struggle with my hands, so you may want to just pause a second. If I say, I can't figure out how to get this in, that's real different than me trying to get it in. And all that I have wrong is my motor skill, because I'm getting strong and I'm fast, but I'm not accurate, because I'm struggling just in that moment. And everybody in this room, everybody on this call has had those moments where you're all of a sudden klutzy. You can't get the key in the door. You can't get the car in gear, and you know that you know how. It's not that you don't know, but in that moment, your brain just can't do it. It's overwhelmed. So the kind of things that we can do, is it starting to make sense how often it's not just them, it's also us, and how hard it is for people to live with this, and how hard it is for us to live with this moment of diamond. So the other piece I wanted to add for care partners is, why is it so hard, or friends? Why is it so hard for us? And it goes beyond just the person we're trying to help. It also could be that other people in the individual's life are simply not getting it. They don't realize that the person we're supporting is really living as a diamond now, not as a sapphire most of the time, that they're living as an emerald now, not as a diamond most of the time. And so we seem to get our head around it, but those around us who should be supporting us in our work, they're just not getting it. So they either think we're being too hard on people, or we're imagining things, or they just don't see what we're seeing as a problem. And so we feel isolated and alone and unlistened to, and we feel like we think we're better. I'm not. I'm trying to help, and you're not being supportive. And what we don't realize often in that moment is, I'm getting a little rigid and inflexible because I don't feel supported. And if I'm not getting the support from who I usually get the support from, maybe I need to look beyond my usual support circle. Because for whatever reason, if they're not seeing what I'm seeing, I've got to figure out how to get myself what I need so I can help the person I care most about. I'm going to need, if I'm an introvert, a partner who gets it, but just maybe one or two. If I'm an extrovert, I may need a whole group of people who are going to be able to support me in what, because I may need a support group. But what I don't need are people who should be supporting me, and I don't feel they are, because now I've added another layer of stress on myself. And what that means is I'm more likely to have what kind of moments more frequently. Diamond. So what do you need to know? You need to know what's normal for the person, what's normal for the situation, what's different, what's changing, and is there another explanation other than dementia? Is there an explanation other than just stress? Could it be something physically or medically going on? Could it be something environmentally going on? Like me not wanting to go out. It actually wasn't that I didn't want to go out. It's that I didn't want to end up with the people that I ended up with because socially things are changing for me. Or could it be a spiritual shift for me? And when and where are you going to typically notice these issues? What causes diamond distress? Typically things that happen only once a year or once a quarter, things that are more unfamiliar to me or only recently learned. So if I've been recently widowed, for instance, and I've only been driving for about 15 years, you're more likely to see diamond moments around driving, less likely to see them around fixing myself food, except I'm used to cooking for two. So now I may have issues. Also, when I'm stressed out physically or emotionally, when my support system changes or fails, or maybe when I see the person every day, I actually start to notice the change versus I only see them episodically, or maybe when I only see them episodically. So we're going to pause here because this is where I'm going to stop, because next month we're going to talk about, okay, so how do you create amazing, wonderful, joyful moments when people are diamonds? We've talked some about what makes it hard, what we tend to do, what the person who's living with the condition starts to feel, how we can use time a little more wisely. And if you want to look through the PowerPoint once you get it, that'll be great. And what we want to do. And the bottom line of what we want to do is to have our diamonds stay engaged. We want to stay engaged. We need to stay engaged. And so there are things we're going to do that make a difference. We want to be prepared for the changes we need to make, but we don't always need to be making changes as frequently or as much as we think we do. We may want to, we might like to, but do we need to? And again, as we go through this series, this was about diamonds. We're also going to be talking about emeralds and ambers and rubies and pearls as we move forward. With each of them, there are things that people keep and things that they lose. And how we help makes a difference. What cues they give us make a difference. But most important, we need to remember to greet and check out the situation before we try to treat. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to quit sharing. And I'm going to see if anybody has some major questions that they just want to bring up, put up, any comments that people really want to share out. Wave your hand, let Amanda know, she'll unmute you, and we'll see what we can do.
First, there's one from Claire in the chat, and she said she'd love to see an entire class on how to intervene between two diamonds. She finds the person not living with dementia to be the hardest diamonds to work with. So I thought that would be a cool future webinar series of PAC coaching, which is what you do a lot of. So
yeah, perfect. So that we'll put that on one of our agenda lists. So Corey's in charge of now creating an agenda list since she isn't being abused. So we'll put that on there.
Hi, Teepa.
Hey, Linda.
How do I bring up in the care plan meeting how they could benefit from your on-site training programs?
Well, you might
webinars.
Yeah, you might just start with, I just went to this webinar and it was so helpful. Have you ever heard of this lady? Her name is Teepa Snow and it's Positive Approach. Good. I have a webinar connection. I would be really excited to have you. Is there anybody who would like to look at it with me? Because I actually have the webinar, and if you would be willing to look at it with me, I have it and I'll get it. Sometimes making it about what you learned, they can be willing to learn because it's not about them and what they need. You were fascinated and you found some new things out. And they may know all that. But, you were really excited because it made a difference you felt like with your mom. So sometimes that helps. Sometimes it doesn't, but it's a start.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So hi, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this session on understanding diamond distress. I hope that you will consider coming back and watching the next video in this series about creating joy or creating connection and pleasure for a person within a diamond state. And I hope this has given you some things to think about. And as Teepa said, we're always here for you. So call us, email us, check out the website. See you sometime soon. Bye-bye.